carried out over these next 4 days. Rania Lawendy joins me now. Rania is the CEO of Action for Humanity Canada. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
These 4 days are going to be really, really crucial. But from your point of view, talk to me realistically about what can be accomplished in these 4 days. We're talking about there's so much humanitarian aid that is needed, that needs to get in, but we're also looking at an extremely large backup. So what are you anticipating could happen over the next 4 days?
Well, we know that there are over 400 trucks right now at the border waiting to get in, waiting for this kind of pause to happen. So we are hoping that obviously these trucks can go in. We know that the protocol is still the same, which is very tedious, which is basically going through the Egyptian border, then being checked by the Israeli side. Then, everything gets taken off the truck, then put onto the Red Crescent trucks and the UN trucks. And so it is very tedious, but we, like for Action for Humanity Canada, we do have a 3 kind of pronged plan. So we're assessing the conditions on the ground, obviously because of all the bombing that's been happening. Our aid workers are just, have been trying to stay alive, grieve their own families and also help their fellow citizens. And so assessing the conditions in the north and the south, we are focusing on the most vulnerable, which is obviously the children, the elderly. And one thing that we've been forgetting is the amount of, people who have disabilities and who are really crushed by this more than anyone else because they're not able to move, because they're forced to stay in certain places, et cetera. And then we want to support, obviously, our colleagues and families, including other humanitarian workers and medics. And, the challenge is that the infrastructure of Gaza is gone.
Yeah.
So over 50% of that infrastructure has been bombed out. And so you've got bombed roads, you've got, the hospitals aren't working. There's only like 2 small hospitals in the north that are even working, 7 in the south, and very limited in what they can do and the scope that they can do. The water desalination plants have been bombed. The schools have been bombed. The churches, mosques, everything has been bombed. So it's very difficult. Our warehouses, so many warehouses, we know many of, UNRWA, the headquarters was bombed. We know there are many international aid workers that have also lost their lives, have lost loved ones. And so it is a very difficult situation. You have over 1.2 million people that are displaced within 360 square kilometers. And so it is tantamount that we work quickly and we try to do the best that we can.
Yeah, because 4 days doesn't sound like it's going to be nowhere near enough, even just to try and get the aid in, because it's not a matter of you're looking at a clean road that you'll be able to drive through. Clearly, there's several obstacles, and some stuff may have to be brought over by hand. What's also the concern around the fact that winter's coming and it's going to get very cold?
Yes. And so, we do have winterization in effect. With all of these people without homes, we're looking at shelter, you're looking at blankets, you're looking at hygiene kits, feeding them. We have, so many people are now starting to die of starvation. We have children dying of dehydration because of the lack of water. And so it's very, very important, not just once that these trucks get in, to be able to get that aid to the people and to the hospitals and to the places where we can help the most vulnerable. And this is the challenge not only of Action for Humanity Canada, but also for all the international aid organizations working within Gaza. And to be honest, your guest before was very optimistic about what is happening. But, as we follow everything as aid workers, and, the Israeli Defense Minister Gallant was saying this is a short respite. And at the end of it, the fighting is going to continue intensely. And they're saying the Israeli factions are saying they expect another 2 months of this, right? And so while the 4-day pause is important, it's an important step towards ending this war. It's very important that we focus and we stay focused on making sure that there is a permanent ceasefire, because without a permanent ceasefire, humanitarians cannot give the help that they need and aid the people in the way that they need to be aided. Like if the videos are showing the devastation. It's
Rania,
I don't even know how we're going to rebuild.
Are you feeling optimistic that there can be an extension, at least to this pause, that we can get to a permanent ceasefire?
Well, we hope that there's an extension, but the rhetoric coming out of the Israeli government does not show us that they're going to be looking at something like that. I hope Qatar is able to negotiate that. You know, one thing we need to focus on too, and remember, is that when that hostage negotiation is happening, and you have the hostages being exchanged, on the side of the Israelis giving the Palestinian prisoners, you have children as young as 12 years old who have been imprisoned for 20 years for throwing stones, right? I mean, we need to also look at this. We have children, we have women. There's over 6,000 or 7,000 political prisoners. So there's an exchange of 50 for 150, but there are thousands of Palestinians still sitting in jail in administrative situation where they're sitting without trial and without charges. And so, you know, the situation is like he said, it's very dire, and we don't know what's going to happen, to be honest.
Very dire and very delicate. And before I let you go, there is the physical aid. What about the mental support? There are children, as you mentioned, that will never be able to get what they've seen out of their minds.